Hi, my name is Erin Fava. I'm an occupational therapist with the Regional Stroke Team for Southeastern Ontario. Today you're going to be hearing from myself and my colleague Linda Schroed. Today we're going to talk to you the Tips and Tools presentation on Section 7 and Section 9. These sections include problems with cognition, perception, and behavior. Our objectives for today, what are they? Recognizing impairments in cognition, perception, and behavior, and also learning strategies on how to help your stroke survivor. Why are we dealing with these problems? Because these problems can affect every aspect of your resident's life, most often seen with mobility and eating. Now Linda, my colleague, is going to talk to you about cognitive problems.
Hi, I'm Linda Schroed, occupational therapist, consulting to the Regional Stroke Team of Southeastern Ontario. With your cooperation and involvement, I'm going to introduce or reintroduce you to cognition. Cognition, as defined in your Tips and Tools Resource Binder, Section 7, is the process of knowing information and involves several mental abilities, such as attention span, memory, orientation, judgment, problem solving. As we're all very aware, you need to get information into the brain, store it, process it, and then get it out. The brain is often referred to as a filing cabinet. Similar to a filing cabinet, you have to get the information in, it's stored, and pulled out. If anything goes wrong at any one of these stages, difficulties are observed. It is the same for the brain. You may have difficulties getting the information in as a result of poor attention span. You need to be able to attend and focus on tasks and information in order to get it into the brain. Once in the brain has to be able to. You have short-term memory and long-term memory. You also have to be able to use this information in order to orient yourself to who you are, where you are in terms of time and space. You have to be able to demonstrate good judgment and the ability to problem solve. Problem solving and good judgment is observed as the information is pulled from the brain. The individual who has had a brain attack or a stroke may demonstrate one or several difficulties in several of these areas. It's really important to remember that the cognitive problems impact greatly on the resident's ability to perform in daily activities. These cognitive issues are often very difficult to detect, not as easy to see as the physical problems. Careful observation and assessment is required. What can you do to help? At this point, if you haven't opened your resource binder to Section 7, please do so. You will notice all of the headings that we have been discussing: attention, memory, impulsiveness, problem solving. Related to each of these headings, you are going to see another heading: what you can do to help. Here is the list of strategies that are available to you to help problem solve and strategize what is going to work with your resident. From your experience, you may have discovered other solutions or other ideas that work for the identified problems. Please add them to your list. At this point, Erin is going to address the perceptual difficulties a resident may experience. Perception and cognition are often referred to as the invisible barriers.
What is perception? Perception deals with different aspects of how your resident organizes information and perceives information within their own environment, whether it be through sound, through sight, through touch, other aspects such as these. The first point is time awareness. What is this? Time awareness deals with your resident's ability to really be aware of the time. For instance, a resident might feel that 5 minutes has occurred when really 3 hours has occurred. A different part of perception could be neglect, or what we also call inattention. This might mean inattention to one side of the body, one visual part of space, or other things that you can see in your binder. Apraxia is a problem in dealing with planned movements. Take a look in your binder and see what it says. Sensory deprivation. This can happen, most often seen with older residents. This means that a person has difficulty getting information from the environment, and they might appear quite confused. This is most often seen in quiet areas early in the morning or later on in the day. It's very helpful for you to try to be aware of things such as sensory deprivation. Again, please use your binder in section 7 to follow along. Right-left discrimination. Most often seen with clients with certain types of stroke. What does this mean? A client might have a problem discriminating between what is their right hand, what is their left hand. Also with other objects such as the right arm of a shirt that you're asking them to put on. Again, please refer to section 7 to read more about this. One last thing that I'll talk about, visual impairments. Your resident might have a difficult time perceiving things in space, specifically with depth perception. How does this look and what does this mean? For instance, your resident might want to reach for a cup and they can't judge the distance appropriately because they're not perceiving the right information from the cup. So they might overshoot trying to reach for the cup or undershoot. You may see this in your residents. What you can do to help. Please again use your binder. Try to see what kinds of things you can do to help yourself and your resident for those who have perceptual problems.
Oh my gosh! Who are you? What are you doing in my room? Were you invited? Aaron! Who are these people? Oh, we're having a party. I'm so glad you came. I love parties. Yes, I really love parties. I'm so happy to be having it. Oh, yes. Let me think. Oh, I don't think I have enough food. Let me think. Okay. How many people are coming? What did they like? I don't know whether I can do this or not. Do we have enough chairs for this many people? Ooh, I don't know. Let me think. Oh, Aaron, why didn't you let me know that we were having these people? I could have been repaired. Look at the way I'm dressed. How can I have a party looking like this? I'd have to get to the hairdresser. Oh, and food. Oh my gosh, food. What are we going to serve? No, I can't do this. I can't be ready for that many people. No way. No, I can't. No, it's too much, too fast. Okay, let me think. No. Aaron, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I don't want to do it. No. And you look awful. You can't come to my party looking like that. Who did your hair? Look at my hair. Oh my gosh. Oh. I can't do it. I'm gone. No, I cannot do this. Aaron, I can't.
It's very important to remember that each person is unique and the behaviors following the stroke will depend on where the stroke attack has occurred. What you just observed are examples of behaviors that you may have seen your resident exhibit. You may have seen that emotional lability, happy 1 minute, sad the next, crying, laughing, oftentimes inappropriately. You may see someone who has an angry outburst or who has become aggressive, shaking their fist at you, banging a table. Or you may find someone who is no longer interested and motivated, who withdraws, stays in their room, isn't interested in participating in activities. Oftentimes, the person may be just rude, as I was, yelling at you or saying how terrible you looked. Social judgment is impaired along with being just rude. The resident can be confused, uncooperative, and really withdraws and is not willing to participate. To identify the strategies that you may find useful with the residents exhibiting any of these behaviors, look in your Tips and Tools Manual, Section 9. Dealing with the behaviors, it's very important that the changes are due to a stroke and may not be the resident's true feelings. It's important to identify the causes for the behaviors and to help the caregivers develop strategies that can be applied with kindness, patience, respect as the resident learns to adapt and live with changes.
Now we're going to have you watch a skit, and we would like for you to try to be able to recognize some of the things that we have been talking about today, specifically cognitive, perceptual, and behavioral problems. We'd like for you to try to recognize some of these things that the client has in this skit. Okay, Mrs. Cook. Why don't we get you ready before breakfast, huh?
Okay.
Okay. Here you go. There's your toothbrush, toothpaste, cheesecloth, and towel.
Erin, can I get a hand for a second?
Sure, Jen, just a second. Okay, why don't you wash your face and brush your teeth while I'm gone, huh?
Okay.
Go. Brush your teeth. Go. Okay, go. Brush your teeth. Oh, frick. Okay. Oh, so I guess you decided to brush your teeth after all, huh? Oh, what a mess. Why didn't you use your face cloth and your towel? They're right here. Oh, what a mess. So what did you see? We'd like for you to ask yourself, which cognitive, perceptual, and behavioral problems did this client have? You may have seen perseveration. For instance, in the video, you would have seen the resident brushing her teeth for an extended period of time. She was brushing her teeth for too long. Also, you would have seen body neglect. Specifically, you would have seen that she did not brush the left side of her mouth, she did not wipe the left side of her mouth, nor did she incorporate her left arm in using both of her hands. In terms of a visual neglect for the resident that you saw in this skit, she did have a visual neglect. This resident was unable to scan visually to the left side of her visual field or the left side of her body to locate the needed towel and face cloth. This client also had something that we call apraxia. We talked about this in the perceptual component of Section 7 of your Tips and Tools binder. This resident had a hard time, or in fact was unable to start the task of brushing her teeth. When she was unable to brush her teeth, you also would have seen some behavioral problems that were pointed out to you by Linda in section 9 of your Tips and Tools binder. She demonstrated frustration by slamming down her toothbrush once she realized she was unable to start the task of brushing her teeth. Finally, you may have noticed that this resident in this skit had some issues with withdrawal. She looked sad, she had a saddened face, and lowered her gaze down. Now, we'd like you to think about the caregiver. Did you notice the placement of the towels? We feel that the placement of the towels by the caregiver in a random manner on the left side of the client was a poor choice because the client is unable to notice things on the left side of her body. Also, you would have noticed in the same skit that the caregiver chose to approach this resident on the left side of her body, the side, in fact, that she cannot pay attention to because she's had a stroke that affects her in this manner. You may have also noticed that the caregiver became impatient and had a rushed approach towards the client. Also, you may have noticed that she was quite abrupt in her movements. Another thing was that this caregiver may have made some assumptions that the resident was able to perform the task of brushing her teeth, when in fact she is unable to do it. Finally, we want to summarize by saying in the skit that you just watched, looking for the approach of the caregiver, we really felt that the caregiver did not have a true understanding of all of the deficits seen with that resident. It's a better idea to really try to understand your resident and the specific problems that they could be having. That is why we would like for you to use your Tips and Tools binder to look through sections 7 and 9 and to try to ask yourself, do I recognize any of these problems? Now we're going to show you a separate skit. This skit demonstrates the caregiver's different approach. This caregiver probably used some of the strategies that you have been looking at or you in fact might have tried yourself. But we would like for you to think about and to pay attention to this caregiver.
Okay, Mrs. Cook. Why don't I get you cleaned up before breakfast, huh?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Here you are. There's your toothbrush, toothpaste, your face cloth, and your towel.
Erin,
Okay.
can I get a hand for a second?
Sure, Jen, just a second. Okay, why don't you just brush your teeth while I'm gone, okay?
Okay.
Okay. There you go. Brush your teeth. Brush your teeth like this. Good job. Okay, great job. I think you might have forgotten to wipe the other side of your face though. Wipe your face. Wipe your face like this. Great job.
In this skit, what were the strategies used by the caregiver? Specifically, you would have noticed that the caregiver was much more aware of the resident's problems. Did you see the caregiver approach from the good side of the body, specifically on the right side of the body, and that the caregiver was kneeling next to the resident, thus making good eye contact? The caregiver was also quite patient and did not have a rushed attitude. The caregiver also was able to help the resident in starting the task of toothbrushing, specifically actually putting the toothpaste on the toothbrush and handing it to the resident and helping the resident as well start the task of toothbrushing. We refer to this as hand over hand. You will notice that this strategy is outlined in your tips and tools binder. The placement of the towels. They were placed on the right side of the body by the caregiver to the resident. This was a great idea because the resident was able to pay attention or notice the towel and the face cloth on the right side of her lap. And we really do feel that this is a good strategy. Short and simple instructions were used by the caregiver to the resident. The caregiver asked the resident only to brush her teeth. In the previous skit, you would have noticed that the caregiver asked the resident to do 2 tasks. We feel that asking short and simple instructions of a resident who has had a stroke is a good way to approach people with problems, specifically cognitive, perceptual, and behavioral problems. In summary, we would like for you to notice that the second approach is far more client-centered and in fact takes less time.
We have looked at the cognitive problems that may arise as a result of someone having had a stroke, along with the perceptual and behavioral difficulties that you may observe. It's very important for us to remember that stroke affects not only the resident but those around them. The caregivers must be very careful not to react in a negative manner. Kindness